Soft thunder rolls in the distance. The wind drifts gently across the peaks of Olympus. Above the mortal world, rivers of silver and gold clouds weave in endless motion. There rests a throne unlike any other, eternal, untouched by time, not carved by mortal hands, born from the breath of the sky. Legends say it rose where lightning first kissed the heavens. Upon it sits not just a ruler of storms, but a guardian of balance, a balance between day and night, between order and chaos, between earth and sky. Yet the throne is more than power. It is a witness. It has seen centuries pass, empires rise, kings fall. It has heard the prayers of mortals carried upward like sparks in the wind. Silent, unyielding, the throne listens still. Tonight we step closer, into the mists of Olympus. We follow the echoes of thunder, searching for hidden stories in marble and light. The throne awaits, eternal, patient, alive with memory. This is not only the tale of a god, it is the tale of the sky itself, and of a throne that never sleeps. High above the mortal world, the air feels older than time. Mountaintops pierce the heavens, crowned with drifting clouds like wandering spirits. Here, in the silence of the upper sky, the throne's story begins. The throne was not built, not hammered, not carved by mortal hands. It was born from the sky itself, from breath, from light, from thunder. Imagine a storm at the beginning of all storms. The sky trembles, not with anger, but with the weight of creation. Lightning cascades across the firmament, not as destruction, but illumination. Each strike reveals a shape. Each rumble of thunder gives a voice. Slowly, as if the clouds themselves desired form, the throne emerges. It rises from no stone, no wood, but something dreamlike and eternal. Marble kissed by starlight, gold folded into air, dawn layered on shadow. Neither fully matter nor spirit, but essence of the sky made permanent. Legends say it appeared where winds met in perfect stillness. The gods felt the air grow heavy, as though the sky chose a heart. They gathered, gazing in awe, not daring to approach it first. This was not only a seat, it was destiny, a bond between realms. When Zeus first saw it, he did not claim it. He listened. The throne hummed, vibrating with the harmony of marble and air. It was not given to him, but to the balance he must keep. To sit upon it meant not just ruling, but harmonizing storm and silence. The throne's birth was a moment of stillness in a moving world. For a breath of eternity, winds paused, and clouds parted in awe. Stars dimmed, as though honoring what had quietly been born. No wars announced it, no victories crowned it, only silence. Its arrival was inevitable, like the rising of dawn. Centuries have passed, yet the throne remains untouched by time. Its surface shimmers faintly, polished by invisible hands of air. Lightning sleeps within its veins, glowing when storms gather nearby. At sunset it reflects violet and fire. At moonrise, silver calm. Some say the throne remembers its own birth. To lean close is to hear echoes of the first storm, clouds reshaping into beauty, thunder rolling like a heartbeat. It remembers silence so pure it became sacred. Mortals felt its presence even without seeing it. Farmers believed their harvests thrived under its unseen gaze. Sailors whispered prayers before voyages, trusting their words reached Zeus. Lovers made vows beneath the stars, with the throne as witness. The throne was, and is, a symbol stitched into life's rhythm. The birth of the throne is not only creation's tale, it is a reminder that balance sometimes takes shape in stillness, not in crowns or weapons, but in a seat awaiting grace. Winds sweep Olympus. Centuries march on. The throne endures, eternal, patient, entrusted with the weight of the sky. The eternal throne was never truly silent. From its birth, the skies around it became its voice. Not thunder, not lightning, but whispers. Gentle, constant, éternel. These whispers were not heard with the ears, but with the heart. They carried no words, yet every god near the throne felt them. A vibration in the chest, a stirring in the soul. The throne spoke in the language of the air itself. When Zeus first sat upon the throne, he discovered its gift. The clouds spoke in sighs, restless wanderers drifting endlessly. The winds hummed, moving from mountain to sea in low tones. Storms on distant horizons murmured secrets of what was to come. Through the throne, Zeus did not command the sky. He listened, and in listening, he learned the heavens were not chaos. They were a vast, breathing mind, filled with harmony. The throne placed him inside that rhythm, inside its hidden order. The whispers told of rain long before it fell. They warned of drought before the earth cracked. They sang of rivers swelling, fields ready to bloom. It was not prophecy, but awareness of the present unfolding. The whispers carried voices of faraway places, the sharp sigh of desert winds, the cold hush of mountain ice, the faint shiver of air across seas no ship had sailed. The throne was a bridge between ruler and world, not with command, but with understanding. Mortals imagined Zeus as a storm god, throwing lightning, but the throne reminded him of another role, a listener. It softened his might and shaped his judgments. It taught him to guard by listening as much as ruling. On quiet nights beneath a sky of scattered fire, the whispers changed. They softened, becoming lullabies sung by constellations. They told of the universe before gods, before sound. In those moments, Zeus felt both infinite and small. Other gods were drawn to the whispers too. Hera heard the wind speak of harmony at dawn. Apollo lingered at twilight, hearing music in the sky. Athena admitted their wisdom, surpassed scrolls and speeches. Mortals too felt the throne's voice without knowing. Farmers turned their faces to the wind before planting seeds. Sailors trusted the shifting air to guide their journeys. Shepherds and children felt its hush at twilight. The throne's whispers touched all, though few recognized it. The breeze cooling a traveler was part of its voice. The stillness before a storm was its quiet message. The hush over a village at dusk was its gift. The sky's whisper became a legend of gentle knowledge. Strength does not need to roar. True guardianship begins not with command, but with patience to listen. The throne remains on Olympus, humming softly with the sky. Its whispers are eternal as clouds, timeless as winds. Even now, those who close their eyes on mountaintops may hear it. The sigh of the breeze, the hush of dawn, the voice of the sky, the eternal whisper of the throne. The eternal throne stood bathed in silver moonlight. By day it shimmered with clouds. By dusk it glowed with fire. But by night, it belonged to the stars. They were not just light scattered across the sky. They were eyes, watchers, guardians, silent observers since the first breath of creation. The constellations formed more than decoration above Olympus. To mortals, they were myths. To gods, they were companions and keepers of memory. Each star carried its own story, but together they wove devotion. They circled the throne of Zeus, unblinking and eternal. When the world grew quiet and Olympus lay still, the throne leaned into their light. The stars offered their company, patient, wordless, unwavering. Zeus often felt their presence when seated upon the throne. They did not whisper like winds, nor murmur warnings like clouds. They shone with stillness, calming him in their silence. In their constancy, Zeus found patience and reflection. When he wrestled with choices, he turned to their light. Stars never hurried, never faltered. They simply endured. From them, Zeus learned truths arrive not through force, but through waiting. Mortals, too, lived by the watch of constellations. Farmers planted by their glow. Travelers navigated by their patterns. Lovers traced their shapes, whispering promises beneath the night. For mortals, they were a compass of hope. For the throne, they were an audience of light. Some believed the stars were souls risen beyond the earth. If so, generations upon generations looked upon the throne each night. Their presence wrapped it in memory and witness. Even gods, it seemed, were never alone under their gaze. On clear nights, the throne glowed alive with starlight. Marble reflected silver, gold, and blue fire from the sky. It became a mirror of the heavens, a fragment of eternity. To sit upon it was to sit within the constellations. The silent observers spoke nothing, yet taught through presence. Silence, too, can be a teacher. Silence holds space. Surrounded by watchers, the throne became a place of reflection. Power grew deeper when witnessed. Wisdom grew clearer in silence. The constellations remain guardians not of gates, but of perspective. They remind all that actions are seen beneath eternal eyes. Silence does not mean absence. Silence means steady presence. The throne is eternal not only because time cannot touch it, it endures because it is held in the gaze of the stars. They will watch when storms fade and winds sleep. They will keep vigil when even gods drift into memory. Above Olympus, they gleam as they have for countless nights. Silent, patient, eternal, observers of a throne that never sleeps. Beneath the sky, the eternal throne never rested in darkness alone. At its side burned a flame that never died. Neither wind, nor rain, nor time itself could dim its glow. The eternal flame was more than fire. It was the living heart of the throne. Mortals knew fire as a gift, a tool, a comfort in the night. To the gods, this flame was far greater, born with the throne itself. It was no forge, no theft, no spark from hand. It was eternal. Placed by the heavens, it burned as a companion to eternity. The flame did not rage or consume like wild forest fire. It shimmered softly, alive with colors that shifted like moods. Gold, amber, crimson, sometimes blue, each shade a quiet voice. Its warmth spread across marble and into the hearts of gods. Zeus often gazed into the flame when storms burdened his mind. In its glow, he saw not destruction but renewal. Fire consumed only to clear, to make way for growth. It reminded him that true power was not for ruin, but for renewal. Other gods sought its warmth and meaning. Hera saw devotion in its steady glow. Apollo heard music in its quiet crackle. Athena traced its colors. Whispering wisdom flickers brighter with reflection. To sit upon the throne was to sit with the flame. It was always present, unwavering, steady, alive. Mortals imagined the eternal flame as a symbol of hope. They believed it guarded Olympus and spread warmth across the world. It gave courage to sailors on stormy seas. It gave comfort to mothers watching through the night. Mortals saw its touch in simple flames close to home, a candle flickering in darkness, a torch guiding travelers, a hearth warming families. All were reflections of that sacred fire. Legends grew around its mystery. Some said it was the soul of Olympus itself. Others believed it was the sky's eternal breath. Some whispered it was the fire of justice, guarding truth. But the gods knew it simply as presence, a reminder that even when storms fade, warmth remains. The flame reminded Zeus of gentleness within power. His lightning struck fierce, but the flame soothed calm. One commanded with might, the other consoled with light. Together, they shaped Zeus not just as storm god, but guardian. On quiet nights, the flame danced in shifting patterns. Gods gathered to watch as if listening to a tale. Though no words were spoken, they felt stories within its glow. Stories of resilience, stories of warmth, stories of eternity. The throne, the stars, the sky, and the flame, each carried lessons. Whispers taught listening. Stars taught patience. Flame taught renewal. Together, they wove balance beside Zeus. And so the eternal flame still burns beside the throne today. It burns through storms. It burns through silence. It burns through time. A flame that consumes nothing, yet gives everything. The eternal throne stood high upon Olympus, carved from marble, kissed by the sky. Yet its strength did not come only from above. It came from below, from the hidden roots of Olympus. Most saw only clouds, stars, and flame. Few remembered that what rises highest must be anchored deepest. Olympus was not only a peak, but a giant rooted into the earth's heart. The throne's endurance came from these unseen foundations of stone. Legends whispered that before gods, before the throne, The mountain was alive. It rose as a spirit, vast and silent, guarding the land. When the throne was born, Olympus offered its roots willingly. It held the weight of eternity on its shoulders. Zeus often felt this strength when he sat upon the throne. Beneath marble, beneath his feet, the deep earth hummed, not a song of air or fire, but of patience, a silence that stretched through centuries, steady and eternal. In doubt, when storms raged above, Zeus touched the throne. The roots spoke, storms pass, winds fade, stone endures. Strength is not only lightning strike, but the quiet of mountains. Hera felt Olympus beneath her skin when she stood barefoot. Athena said wisdom was carved into the patience of rock. Hermes, swift and restless, envied the roots that never moved. Mortals sensed the power of Olympus's roots. Farmers tilled richer soil near its base. Villages trusted their walls, believing Olympus protected them. Pilgrims bowed low, touching earth for strength. The throne's roots became a symbol of unseen power. Like trees that cannot rise without roots, the throne endured through foundation. Stories spread across the world. Some said the roots reached the seas. Others claimed they touched the underworld, binding heaven and earth. A few believed Olympus's heartbeat was the heartbeat of the world. If the throne ever crumbled, all creation would tremble. True or not, the lesson remained. The unseen holds the greatest power. Greatness rises because it is anchored. Power endures because it is rooted. The eternal throne was not only sky, stars, flame, and whispers. It was stone. It was roots. It was stillness beneath storms. The mountain's patience shaped Zeus as much as lightning ever had. It taught him to endure, to sit still as storms passed, to hold steady when all else swayed, to be rooted not only in power, but in presence. Even now, Olympus towers above valleys and seas. The throne rests upon its silent roots. They are unseen, yet eternal. They hold everything steady. The eternal throne endures because the mountain endures. Sky may change, storms may rage, flames may flicker, but the roots of Olympus remain. The eternal throne was not bound by marble, flame, or mountain alone. Around it flowed something greater, the river of time. This river was unseen, yet it touched gods and mortals alike. It did not carry water. It carried moments. It carried past, present, and possibility in a steady current. Zeus felt it whenever he sat upon the throne. Time whispered through him, not in words, but in rhythms. A pulse, a song of motion that never stopped. Unlike wind or flame, time never stood still. It always moved forward. To mortals, time was fleeting. Seasons passed, children grew, and elders faded. Life dissolved into memory. But Zeus felt it all at once. Not as loss, but as motion. Time was not an enemy. It was a river that gave meaning. It carried seeds to bloom and stories to completion. The throne's bond with time taught him humility. Even eternity must honor the flow. To rule was not to halt the river. It was to move with it, to guide within its current. The gods also learned from this unseen stream. Hera spoke of cycles renewed again and again. Apollo called it the Song of Ages. Athena said wisdom lived in change. Hermes laughed, admitting the river was swifter than he. Mortals only knew it through myth. They told of a stream that carried memory, a current between dreams and waking, between life and death. Poets called it the thread of fate. Sailors imagined it flowing beneath their ships. Farmers felt it in the turning of seasons. And perhaps they were not wrong, for the river touched all things. The rising Sunday, the falling rain, the bloom of flowers, the fading of leaves, the beating of hearts, each a drop within the eternal stream. The throne's connection to time humbled Zeus, for he was king of gods, but not king of time. He could not halt its flow. He could not turn it back. He could only listen. He could only align with it. On nights of silence, Zeus felt the river most clearly. It was vast. It carried the laughter of children unborn. It carried the silence of those long gone. It carried the rise and fall of empires. Through it all, the throne endured, not by standing apart, but by resting within the flow. Legends said the river revealed the future, not as prophecy, but as possibility. It offered direction, not certainty. It guided, but never forced. The throne, bound to time, became more than a seat. It became a bridge. It connected past to present, and present to future. It reminded all that they were part of something larger. And so, the river flows still. Beneath Olympus, beneath the throne, beneath every breath of life. It carries gods and mortals. It carries storms and stars. The throne does not stop the river. It listens. It learns. It rests in the flow. And through the flow, it endures. The eternal throne was never silent for long. Though it stood in marble stillness, voices always gathered around it. For Olympus was not ruled by Zeus alone. The throne carried not only one will, but many. When gods gathered, the hall of Olympus filled with sound. Each voice was sharp, bright, and strong as the elements themselves. Hera spoke of loyalty, of family, of bonds that must endure. Athena brought reason, weighing each choice with careful thought. Apollo sang of beauty and harmony, urging balance in all things. Hermes laughed, quick with ideas, swift to turn chaos into order. Poseidon's voice rumbled like the sea, reminding all of nature's depths. Demeter whispered of harvests, of Earth's quiet hunger and renewal. Together they wove a chorus of sound around the throne, each voice different, yet bound by the same eternal flame. Zeus listened, for even a king learns from counsel. The throne was not only a seat of command, it was a gathering place, a circle of wisdom. In its presence, even disagreement became a kind of harmony. The gods debated, yet the throne held them steady. It reminded them they ruled not for themselves, but for all. Their voices shaped Olympus as much as stone or flame. Mortals imagined thunder when gods argued, lightning when they laughed. They told stories of voices echoing across valleys and seas. In truth, the council was not of war, but of balance. For the throne bound their words into something greater. Hera's devotion softened Athena's reason. Apollo's song balanced Poseidon's depth. Hermes' laughter lifted Demeter's solemn whispers. And Zeus, listening, wove it all into rule. The council taught that no voice should stand alone. Power grew not from command, but from chorus. Mortals too learned from this unseen council. In villages, elders gathered to speak. In markets, merchants debated. In families, voices rose and joined together. Each echoed Olympus, though they never knew. The throne of Zeus carried these voices across time. Its strength was not marble or flame, but unity. The eternal throne endured because voices shared its weight. And even now, its echoes remain, a reminder that no rule is eternal without counsel, that no voice, not even a god's, can stand alone. The eternal throne was not built for mortals, and yet they were never far from it. Though Zeus sat high upon Olympus, the throne breathed through mortal lives. Fragile, fleeting, ever-changing mortals gave the throne meaning. When gods quarreled, mortals prayed. Their voices rose like smoke, carrying fears and hopes. Each prayer reached the throne, shaping the air around it. Power was not only command, but connection. The throne learned patience from farmers waiting for rain. It learned courage from sailors guided only by stars. It learned devotion from parents holding children close. It learned wisdom from elders telling stories by firelight. Zeus listened and felt the quiet strength of mortal lives. The throne endured not by might alone, but by this gift, the heartbeat of humanity. The gods often forgot. They saw mortals as sparks, bright and gone too soon. But the throne remembered each ripple in the river of time. Small ripples, yes, but together they became a tide. Athena said mortals taught her more than scrolls could. Hermes laughed, finding joy in their tricks and laughter. Even Hera softened at their vows of devotion. Mortals gave the throne not stone or flame, but stories. A child's lullaby, a warrior's tale, a lover's song, a poet's verse. Each wove into the throne's fabric, unseen yet enduring. The throne was a bridge but also a mirror. Mortals looked up and saw Olympus. The gods looked down and saw themselves reflected in human hearts. Legends warned that if mortals ceased to believe, the throne would crumble. Not because marble breaks, but because meaning fades. And perhaps, in some way, it was true. For without mortals, what is power? A voice with no echo. A flame with no warmth. A throne with no purpose. Zeus understood. He ruled not as tyrant, but as guardian of connection. For each thunderbolt, he sent rain to heal. For each storm, he offered calm skies. The throne was his, yes, but it belonged also to mortal voices. The throne endured through roots, rivers, flame, and counsel. But most of all, through the gift of mortals, their faith, their fear, their love. These were the hidden pillars. Even now, long after Olympus is faded into myth, the gift remains. Mortals still tell stories of thunder and unseen gods, of a throne waiting high upon the mountain. They may not climb Olympus, yet their words climb higher. The eternal throne listens still. It listens to every whispered story, every prayer in silence, every dream carried by the wind. For mortals gave the throne its truest gift. Not power, not marble, but meaning. Time is not always loud. It does not always roar like rivers or crack like thunder. Sometimes it speaks in whispers, softer than a sigh, gentler than a breeze. The eternal throne had felt those whispers for ages. It watched kingdoms rise and empires fall. It stood through the endless turning of the world. Stone and flame endured, but time left the deepest marks. It wore grooves in the marble. It softened edges once sharp. It filled silence with echoes of forgotten prayers and songs. Zeus himself, master of storm, was not beyond its reach. Though ageless, he felt the patience of time pressing against him, not to weaken, but to remind. Eternity was not stillness. It was motion, flowing forward, weaving all into its thread. The throne listened and remembered not only the victories and feasts of Olympus, but also the smallest moments. A child's first prayer whispered in fear, a mother's thanks for rain, a wanderer's song beneath the stars. Each carried on time's breath, laid at the throne's feet. The gods too heard whispers, though faintly. Hera felt vows ripple through her across centuries. Athena found wisdom layered in voices of generations. Hermes laughed at how quickly a jest turned into legend. But Zeus alone sat where every whisper gathered. He felt how time stitched lives into a vast tapestry. And in that silence, he knew the throne's truth. It was not eternal because of stone, nor because of lightning. It was eternal because of memory, because time itself dwelled within it. The whispers of time were not always kind. They spoke of loss and silenced voices, but they carried love that lingered and wisdom that remained. They carried laughter that echoed long after its source was gone. The throne became more than a seat of power. It became a vessel of remembrance. Every joy, every sorrow, every fleeting breath was kept. Mortals feared time because it slipped away. But the throne knew a secret. Time does not take. It carries. It gathers. It preserves. Nothing was truly lost. Not when the throne listened. Not when time whispered. Legends say if one touched the throne, they would feel the pulse of ages. They would hear faint voices, prayers, and songs woven in stone. Not ghosts, but echoes. Not shadows, but threads of eternity. No mortal may climb Olympus, yet the throne carries them still. It carries every story, every dream whispered into the river of time. The eternal throne is not eternal because it resists. It is eternal because it embraces. It listens to every whisper, no matter how small. And in those whispers, it finds its truest strength. There comes a time when even eternity is tested. The eternal throne had endured storms, rivers, roots, and whispers of time. But one trial remained the test of harmony. The throne was not meant only to hold Zeus, nor to shine above mortals. It was built to balance the voices of all, gods, mortals, and the world itself. And when that balance faltered, the throne trembled. The gods often pulled in different directions. Poseidon longed for seas unchallenged by storm. Athena sought wisdom to rise above quarrels. Ares desired motion without pause. Hermes wished the world to always turn swiftly. Each voice was strong. Each carried truth. But when voices clashed, the throne strained. Zeus listened. He felt the marble shift beneath him. Uneasy, but unbroken. The throne did not ask for silence. It asked for harmony. Not one voice to rule, but many to sing together. The test came when mortals wavered. Some prayed for endless rain. Others for endless Sunday. Some wished for peace. Others for strength. Their prayers rose tangled, a storm of contradictions. The throne felt every prayer and every desperate hope. Too much weight, too many directions, the balance quivered. Zeus knew he could not silence the voices, nor could he favor only one. To do so would fracture the bridge the throne had built. So he chose another way. He called the gods together. He asked them to listen, not to argue, to hear the harmony hidden beneath the noise. At first, they resisted. What harmony could there be in clashing desires? But as they paused, they began to hear it. The sea's roar was not apart from the wind's cry. The flame's crackle was not apart from the stone's silence. One mortal's prayer for strength was not apart from another's for peace. Each voice was a note, alone, harsh, together, a chord. The throne had always known this. It waited for them to learn. Slowly, the gods did. They began to weave their voices, not to erase, but to blend. Athena's wisdom softened Ares's restlessness. Poseidon's depth grounded Hermes's flight. Zeus's thunder found gentleness beside Hera's devotion. The throne grew steady once more, not because the voices stopped clashing, but because they found rhythm. This was the test of harmony, to see if gods and mortals could listen, not only to themselves, but to each other, to embrace difference without fracture, to let eternity sing, not shout. The throne did not demand perfection. It did not ask for silence. It asked only for balance. And in that balance, it discovered its deepest strength. The eternal throne endured not through stone or thunder. It endured through harmony, fragile, delicate, yet everlasting. Even now, when the world feels loud and divided, the story remains. The throne waits, not in command, but in reminder. That eternity is not built on one voice. It is built on many, woven together. And when we listen, truly listen, we become part of that harmony. We keep the throne eternal. Mortality is a veil through which mortals walk, and gods only glimpse. It is a boundary, yet also a gift. The eternal throne felt mortality more deeply than gods realized. Each prayer carried upward was born of mortal hearts, and each heart beat with the rhythm of an ending. The throne did not fear this veil. It cherished it. What ends teaches value. What fades teaches presence. Mortals live knowing their time is brief. So their laughter rings louder. Their love burns brighter. Their dreams rise higher. Zeus often wondered about this truth. How could fleeting lives carry such weight? How could decades echo louder than centuries? The gods envied mortals in secret. Athena saw wisdom in mortality's urgency. Hermes saw joy in its daring leaps. Hera saw devotion in promises bound by time. Even Ares knew mortal bravery shone brightest in death's shadow. The throne absorbed it all. It learned eternity without mortality is hollow. A song without silence. A story without an ending. So the veil of mortality became strength, not weakness, not loss, but perspective. The throne endured by carrying the fleeting within itself. Villages whispered an old legend that mortal dreams, strong enough, could reach Olympus and rest upon the throne as sparks of light. Many dismissed it as fantasy, but the throne knew better, for in its silence it carried sparks, sparks of mortal dreams that refused to fade. A farmer's wish that fields feed generations. A healer's prayer that her hands bring comfort. A poet's words carried in song long after his voice. These dreams did not die with their dreamers. They crossed the veil. They found the throne. They became eternal. The gods felt this too, in stillness. When Zeus closed his eyes, He heard mortal dreams. They rose like distant bells, soft but enduring. The throne was never his alone. It was a vessel of memory, of hope, of mortality. Each spark of a mortal dream gave it new light. The veil of mortality was not an ending. It was a passage, a reminder that fleeting lives leave eternal marks. The throne stood as proof of this. Within its silence, voices lingered. They whispered. They echoed. They were never gone. They were carried. This was the secret of the throne. Eternity does not erase mortality. It holds it. It honors it. It endures because mortality exists. Gods, mortals, and throne, bound by the veil, not of loss, but of meaning. The eternal throne endured, not by denying mortality, but by embracing it. High above Olympus, a crown of stars shines unseen by mortal eyes. It is not forged of gold or fire, but of light itself. And in that light lies the final secret of the eternal throne. The throne had endured rivers, roots, whispers, and veils. It carried harmony, mortality, and memory. Yet one truth remained: eternity is not bound to earth or sky. It reaches into the cosmos. The gods often looked upward, but seldom wandered beyond their dominion. Mortals drew maps in the stars and told stories across darkness. The throne listened. It knew those dreams pointed toward greater belonging. The crown of stars belonged to no god. It was a gift of the universe itself, placed above Olympus as a reminder. The throne, though rooted in stone, was crowned by infinity. One silent night, Zeus gazed upward. The stars felt closer, brighter, almost alive, and he understood they were guardians of eternity. Each star was a story, a song of mortals and gods, a promise that light never dies, but travels through time. The throne felt this truth. It resonated like a lyre touched by starlight. The stars whispered, "You endure because you belong to more than yourself." The gods noticed too. Athena found wisdom in their shapes. Hermes saw endless paths of light. Hera saw bonds of devotion in shining threads. Even Ares felt awe, silenced by their triumph of light. Mortals also looked upward. They saw hope, not distance. Children wove constellations into tales of heroes. Lovers promised eternity beneath the stars. Elders found peace in their endless glow. The crown of stars united all voices. Gods, mortals, and throne breathed with the cosmos, no longer separate, but part of something infinite. The throne now understood its deepest purpose, not only to balance gods and mortals, not only to endure storms or whispers of time. Its purpose was to remind: eternity is shared. It is infinite. The stars would outlast Olympus, outlast thrones, crowns, and names. Yet in their glow, memory remained. Every prayer and dream rose into them, not lost, but transformed. Zeus sat upon the throne beneath this crown of light. He felt small, yet whole, not ruler, not conqueror, but guardian. He knew eternity cannot be owned. It is borrowed, held for a moment, and passed onward. The eternal throne, crowned by stars, bridged gods, mortals, and cosmos. Its endurance lay not in power, but in belonging. So, the story closes with light, not thunder. The throne gleams still. Mortals still look upward, weaving stories among stars. Gods still listen to eternity, carried on starlight. The throne endures, for it is not stone alone, not thunder alone. It is light, memory, harmony, and stars above. The crown shines, the throne waits, and eternity continues, carried on the wings of starlight.